A Twitter executive says tweets from Iran's supreme leader vowing genocide against Israelis are basically just saber-rattling. They don't constitute hate speech against Jews worthy of removal, let alone a suspension of an account. Here's what happened during a Knesset hearing yesterday about social media and anti-Semitism.
So we have an approach to world leaders that presently say that direct interactions with fellow public figures, comments on political issues of the day, or foreign policy saber-rattling on military economic issues are generally not in violation of our
Calling for genocide is okay, but commenting on politics is not, just so we understand. I just want to fine-tune the question. Calling for genocide on Twitter is okay, but commenting on political situations in certain countries is not okay?
So if a world leader violates our rules, but it is a clear interest in keeping that up on the service, we may place it behind a notice that provides some more context about the violation and allows people to click through if they wish to see that type of content.
You heard there the focused, pointed questions from Michal Kotler-Wunsch, who is a lawmaker in the Knesset with the Blue and White Party, and she joins me now. Thank you, ma'am, for your time. You definitely seem shocked, frustrated even by Twitter's response. Do you think that Twitter's policy, its rules, are anti-Semitic?
First of all, thank you, Jeff, for covering this very important topic at such a timely and important moment, actually, in our own history that you referred to and in general for the world. I think, first of all, I wasn't so much shocked. I think it just corroborated a lot of what we've been trying to say, certainly through my work in exposing the notion of double standard. And basically what happened yesterday was just a restatement of a known fact, and that is that double standard. Now, with regard to the policy, I did suggest, actually, that there's an available working definition, the IHRA working definition on anti-Semitism, that can and should be adopted, that has been adopted off digital platforms by tens of countries around the world, and that IHRA definition, in fact, includes what's known as the 3 Ds: delegitimization, demonization, and double standard, and that's a big one with regard to the state of Israel. Having said that, if the policy is adopted, it needs to be implemented, of course. And we asked for transparency with regard to what's happening on digital platforms, certainly on Twitter as well. But this was really just an important opportunity to flag that double standard in Twitter and on other digital platforms.
Yeah, also yesterday we had a major hearing in the American Congress, also grilling major tech CEOs about the power of their companies and their inability to really flag and deal with offensive, hateful posts and threats. What are your thoughts on, just in general, social media companies when it comes to anti-Jewish conspiracy theories and hateful messages?
So a very important question, Jeff. First of all, I don't think this is a Jewish issue or Israel's issue. I think you've really hit it right on the head. This is about, and to do with that Senate hearing you're referring to as well, this is about responsibility and accountability, and the imperative to take responsibility on the one hand, certainly with regard to the digital platforms that have tremendous power in their hands, and accountability, both that they must demand from their users and that they must be held to as trustees of what we regard as basic human rights, free speech, of course, and the need to balance between conflicting values, be it free speech or the protection of all peoples, not only Jews. And I'll say it's a slippery slope, Jeff, from the place that enables double standards towards Jews to the place that it will enable double standards towards any other minority singled out or enabled. So I think that it's a very important plight, and you can see by the responses to the, there was an online campaign actually for a blackout following last weekend's, Wiley's messages on Twitter. You can see that people around the world really transcending differences of faith, of ethnic origin, of gender. You can understand that the imperative to rally around this makes this not a Jewish issue and certainly not Israel's issue.
Yeah, really important response there. I want to, if I can, just switch gears and just note, if we can, that we are now less than a month away from a key deadline in the Knesset where you serve, which is the deadline to pass a budget. There has to be a budget passed at the end of August, or we're going to a fourth election, it looks like. How likely do you think, realistically, let's talk tachlis here. Let's be honest, really. Are we going to have a fourth election this year?
I'm going to answer that question. I'm just going to, the tail end of our previous topic, I just want to say that this also directly connects to what we see all over with regard to the cancel culture. So the imperative to call out double standard and the fact that we've turned a blind eye, and I've spoken on I-24 News about the case and cause of the Golden case and cause, Hadar Golden, who's been held, by Hamas for the last 6 years. That's an offline example of where the international community has to hold to account, whether it's digital platforms or international organizations, to uphold the law and human rights equally to all, no double standards. Now, with regard to your next question, politics, internal politics, I think we don't have the luxury to even talk about this. We are in a situation, Jeff, of 1 million unemployed, of people that are hungry, of children that are experiencing all kinds of emotional issues that have arisen with regard to both summer vacation and coronavirus and lack of proper structure that they are attending. And there are issues that are on the street that I would say Israeli civilians right now expect of their leadership, as they should, to focus on the needs of the public. And this debate actually is very clear and simple. We talk about a 1 year or a 2 year budget, but that's a misnomer. We're talking basically about a 2 month or a year and 2 month budget. And as you know, you can't run a mom and pop shop with a 2 month budget. We need to give the citizens of Israel, and that's our responsibility, the clarity, the certainty for this very uncertain time. We already know that we're going to be living with the challenges of the coronavirus for a while. We don't know how long. And the most important thing right now is to create a sense of certainty. The only way to do that is, it's not even a long-term budget. It's quite a short-term budget. It's, as I said, just a little over a year. But we owe the Israeli public just that. And that's what we insist on.
And last question, your concerns about what you're seeing at these protests. Many more protests scheduled throughout the weekend. We are seeing violent attacks. What are your thoughts on the police response and the government's responsibility here?
So part of the reason the blue and white, including myself, entered this government, and I speak as a legal scholar committed to human rights and to upholding freedom of speech and what these demonstrations present, I want to say that it's imperative that we understand that when rights are being balanced, there's a natural tension between them, the right to demonstrate, or as we say, free speech, and the imperative to maintain both the public's health and a sense of order, orderly conduct. And so we need to look at, again, back to double standard, the application of law equally across the board by both the rule of law, the courts, and the police force that's brought in to address the challenges of the demonstrations and the demonstrators. And as long as we continue to implement without double standard, then we can balance those conflicting rights, and they inherently conflict in a democracy.
MK Michal Kotler-Wunsch, thank you so much for your time and for giving us your perspectives here on the program. Great to have you.
Thank you very much, Jeff.